We're learning about distillation and how distillation is similar to nature's water cycle. And I see a distillation apparatus here. We've got our first flask, and it's got a hot pad underneath it, and that water looks polluted. It's got food coloring and some other things in there, and we want to distill that dirty water, that polluted water, into this second flask down here, where it'll be pure water. But more importantly, fourth graders want to understand how distillation is a way to mimic nature's water cycle. So if I asked over here, Pooja, if I asked you, how is this hot pad, Pooja? How is that like the water cycle in nature? What's it similar to? This heat. The sun, that's right. And so the sun gets water hot. And this water in this first flask, I can see it's starting to get hot. I can see some steam over here building up. Chase, this first flask here with the water in it, most of our planet is covered with water that we call the ocean. It's the ocean, yes. And so the sun shines down in the ocean and it starts to evaporate. And evaporation, we know, is the first step of the water cycle. And as water evaporates, it has to go somewhere. The water goes, where does the water go?
Clouds.
Where does it go?
Clouds.
It goes up into the clouds, and we call that condensation. So when we look at the distillation tube here, we can see water vapors going up, and it's going into this distillation tube, and we can see that steam. It's going to start to condense because we have cold water flowing around it. And as that cold water flows around that steam, it condenses into water droplets just like it does in a cloud. So we know condensation is step 2 in the water cycle. And then what does the water do? When you have so much water in a cloud, you have step 3. What's step 3?
It rains.
It rains, and there's a fancy word for rain. What's that fancy? It starts with a P.
Precipitation.
Precipitation. And so when I look at our distillation tube, we're going to have that water vapor condense like in a cloud, and it's going to start to drip down into our second flask here, where we want to find pure water. We don't want polluted water. We want water that precipitates after it condenses in a cloud. And so as it rains down, we have precipitation, and then our fourth step is collection. What kind of water do you want collected in our streams and our rivers and our lakes? What kind of water do you want?
Pure water.
You want pure water. I should have pure water in this second flask. After an hour or so, I should see less water in our polluted flask as it condenses and precipitates down into pure water in our second flask. Where would we find collected water around Bridgeport?
Rivers.
What's behind our playground? I heard someone say a pond or a lake. So tell me, Diego, would you want to go to our retention pond behind the playground and drink that water?
No.
You wouldn't want to? Why not?
Because it's polluted.
Oh, it's polluted. What are some things that pollute our retention ponds in Indiana?
Methane. Because when you start your car, you burn oil, and the methane mixes with water in the clouds.
Yes, so every time you burn oil, you release methane gas, that condenses with water in clouds, and when it rains, we have that polluted water come right back to the ground. It's not safe to drink water from retention ponds or streams because it's not pure. It's not like the distillation tube in our lab. This water will be pure because it's not mixing with another gas in the distillation tube. It's pure all the way as it condenses into the collection flask here. Fourth graders comparing distillation to the water cycle.